So yeah, that was lousy. And it was lousy because they were lousy. Good morning to you. Good Wednesday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Penguins. It comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into football and or baseball, now would probably be a pretty good time to take interest in those if you haven't already. I also offer daily shots of Steelers and Pirates in the same place that you found this. Islanders 4, Penguins 2. The Islanders were down 2 goals entering the third period, so college-level logic will allow you to deduce that they scored all 4 of the goals in the third. And the shame of it is, it was just so sudden, this return of the bad Penguins, coming after a 4-game winning streak that had been built upon some really solid play, and then add to that 2 just terrific periods against the Islanders. Wouldn't call them dominant or anything like that. I thought the Islanders were pretty consistent in what they wanted to do and what they were doing. Penguins just happened to be better at all of it until second intermission comes. Chris Letang has an option inside the New York blue line to just push the puck forward. Instead, he goes sideways. The Islanders, who are really good at countering, even after having traded off Brock Nelson, get a breakaway goal on Tristan Jarry. And right then and there, you could just feel that this was all different. This was how Mike Sullivan described that scenario afterward.
We win the face-off at center ice, and it turns into a 2-1-0 down the other end. It's just playing the game with not a whole lot of purpose. So we give them an easy goal to start the third period, and it gives them life, gives them juice. I thought for the first 2 periods we were pretty solid. We gave up odd man rushes. We didn't stay on the right side of people. We weren't physical enough in all 3 zones. We didn't close on people in the defensive zone. We didn't play hard enough. We didn't compete hard enough.
Now, Sullivan's not going to call out Letang, who might have had his worst period of the season, not just that giveaway. He's not going to call out Matt Grzelcyk, who struggled, I thought, the entire game. He's not going to call out Erik Karlsson. He's definitely not going to call out the newcomer, Connor Timmins, who spent way too much time prone on the ice trying to make plays. That's never a healthy approach. And he's not going to call out, at least not by individuals, a lot of the oomph that was lacking from the forwards in those same 20 minutes. But I've got a thought here as it relates to the way this period unfolded. And no, it doesn't have anything to do with, what this did for the team in the standings or anything. I can't conceive of anybody having taken that seriously. It also doesn't have to do with the Islanders. I am, after an entire lifetime of seeing the Islanders end the Penguins' seasons in some form or other, like going back to 1975 and my very early childhood, and then 1982, the big comeback after the Penguins had nearly ruined the Islanders' dynasty, and then 1993, which was the worst of them at all. In fact, it was so awful that I can't even talk about it. And then the playoffs in the COVID year, okay, it's not the Islanders. There is one very specific trait about this team's defense men, and it is plural, that I don't like, and at the same time, I feel like I haven't emphasized it nearly enough. I've called attention to it on occasion, but I happen to feel it's been a killer for this team. See, it's not just when Letang or Karlsson or whoever tries a lateral pass inside the other team's blue line. Don't get me wrong, those can hurt. But what happens repeatedly with this team, to the extreme, that opposing coaches will instruct their forwards to take off behind the Pittsburgh defenseman, is that they know that the Penguins defensemen get their shots blocked. They don't get them through. Letang has been guilty of this pretty much his whole career. I'm not diminishing his career. He's the greatest defenseman in franchise history. I was saying that way before it became obvious. But he's long had a tendency, actually forever had a tendency, to look up, look at the net, look for targets, but not have the same peripheral vision for getting the shot or the pass or whatever it is past people's legs. If you want me to cite an opposite example of that, I'll go with the Hall of Famer, Larry Murphy. Murph had an unbelievable peripheral vision in that regard. Murph would get the puck, didn't necessarily have the greatest set of wheels, as he'll tell you himself in a lighter moment. So he wasn't going to be able to do the magical stuff that Karlsson does, for example, in deking everybody out of their skates, or that Letang's capable of doing on occasion. But he was able to get the puck through. The Flyers, or the team, by the way, it was John Tortorella who was telling the Philly forwards, just go, meaning cheat. Leave the zone. Go bolting over the red line as soon as you see one of the Pittsburgh defensemen get set to shoot. Now, the Flyers still needed to have somebody block that shot, but that's always part of the Tortorella program. And sure enough, all night long, the Flyers were getting all kinds of breaks. That was at a time when the Penguins weren't giving up a whole lot of breaks, just like this one was last night. And normally, when I bring up something like this, I prefer to offer a solution. I don't have one. What are you going to do? Teach Letang how to get the puck through at this phase of his career? It's a problem, and it's going to remain a problem, if not worsen, in the next season or two. When we come back, J1Q. This episode is brought to you by Bet Online, your number one source for all your summer sports needs this season, from Major League Baseball, golf, NHL, NBA playoffs. Get the latest odds and lines, including all team matchups, player props, odds on just about everything that's out there. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to get in on the action. Bet Online, where the game starts. Today's J1Q comes from Rich, who says, DK, if the Penguins want to build a better team for the 2025-26 season, the blue line needs serious reconstruction. Running it back with 75% of this group, expect more of the same. More dips and peaks in an 82-game season. Ask yourself, who is the most logical guy out? Now, the most logical guy out, unquestionably, would be Erik Karlsson. I don't ever pretend when it comes to any of Sidney Crosby, Evgeny Malkin, Chris Letang, that there isn't some sort of sentimentality factor. There just is. There just is. And I know Kyle Dubas hasn't been around all that long, but he has been around long enough to get that, meaning that all three of them are going to finish here. I will insist, not just because I have long enjoyed watching Karlsson perform in the offensive zone, that the trade was a good one for the Penguins. There was a lot of salary that went San Jose's way. And I can promise you that however much anybody complains about having Karlsson here, they would have complained a whole heck of a lot more about having 2 bonus years of Mikhail Granlund, the Jeff Petrie, and I don't even remember who else was involved in that thing. That trade remains the strongest example, legitimate example, of Dubas having to clean up after Ron Hextall and Brian Burke. That said, you've got the contract now. You've got $11.5 million on your books for next year and the year after that. And there is a 0.000000% chance of any team taking on even a portion of that, unless the portion that you're picking up, that you're eating, is massive. And it's for the same reason. When these executives go to make these moves, they're not just flipping over to the back of the hockey card. Well, actually, I think Hextall did that for the Granlund trade, but I digress. They're seeing the player. They're getting the same feel, or at least a similar feel, for the player as you and I are when we're watching the games. They've now got video studies. They've got analytics, deep dive analytics. So whatever motivated the Swedish management types, or in this specific case, the former Swedish management type in Johan Garpenlov, to rip Karlsson and his overall performance this season in advance of the Four Nations tournament, everybody knows that. And everybody knows that if you're going to get, 50, 60 points out of him, you're also going to get, a minus 20 or something. So he's here. This is one of the things I was referring to yesterday. I just said that there's no easy solution for the Karlsson thing, just as there wasn't one for Granlund and Petrie and everybody else who went out. I appreciate the question and everything that you had in there. I appreciate everybody who listens to Daily Shot of Penguins. We're going to do another one of these tomorrow.